Hello there, I'm Pricklyman representing the video game Confederacy. And today, we're going to be reviewing a game that I really don't like. Die Hard, Nakatomi Plaza. Now as you can tell, I've kind of tried to do a bit of the Alan Rickman, but I don't think the beard came out very well. Well, we'll just move on, and let's start right at the beginning. Nakatomi Plaza was released in 2002 and ran off the Lithtech engine, which was the same engine that ran No One Lives Forever 1. It was trying to cash in on the whole Die Hard thing, but in so many ways it just fell short of the mark. Alright, so we've introduced this little piece of crap, and to be honest, yeah, it's a bit of a piece of crap, but let's just move on to my number one problem. My number one problem: they couldn't get the likeness of Bruce Willis. Now what the fuck is the point of making a Die Hard movie where you can't even show the fucking face of John McClane? And this is such a huge problem in so many ways. For one, it just really kills the immersion. Like, you're kind of walking around and everyone else you've got this third person view of, but it's like, well, no, we can't show the face of John McClane. That'd be a fucking sin and Bruce Willis would sue our fucking pants off. Two, half the scenes in the movie really fall flat because they can't turn the camera around. Like, for example, near the end of the game, you actually jump off the Nakatomi building with the fire hose, like in the movie. But it really fucking blows because you can't turn the camera around. They've just got to have this, like, just view of the building exploding, but John McClane's nowhere in sight. Now the fact is, they could get the rights to Die Hard, but they couldn't get the rights to Bruce Willis. And another thing, at the beginning of the game, all the cutscenes featuring Hans Gruber are of like the back of his head. And at first I was thinking, well, they couldn't get the likeness of Bruce Willis. Alan Rickman probably told them to fuck off as well, which kind of would have been fair enough. But then I'm thinking to myself, wait, if they've made a model for the back of his head, and we're having a game where you're probably going to have to blow his brains out, they're probably not gonna, they've probably got his likeness. You know what? They fucking did. I don't know why they did it over the back of his head, but it's really shit. Like, it's really shit. And then you get up to the part, from the movie where he introduces himself as Bill Clay, the American accent, all that bullshit. Hans, no fucking bullets, huh? That shit. And then you see the front of his face, and then from there on you see the front of his face. Was the game developers like so stupid? The only people who would play this game are fans of Die Hard. Everyone knows who Bill Clay is. So why are you making the back of his fucking head? It's stupid. The only credit I can say for the voice acting is that the guy who actually played Powell in the movies, Reginald VelJohnson, he actually does play, or do the voice acting for Powell in the game. That is the only credit to the voice acting. The rest of it is just horrible.
You want money? What kind of terrorists are you?
And I mean horrible.
Why didn't you stop them, John? Because then you'd be dead too.
Everything sounds like it's disembodied from themselves. They don't really sound like the characters. And Hans Gruber's voice isn't bad, but at first it just doesn't sound threatening enough.
Now, I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho.
And Bruce Willis's voice, John McClane, just sounds like shit. He sounds like a fucking 16-year-old, like who's watched too many action movies or something.
Yippe Kaye, motherfucker.
And it just doesn't work. Like, the voices just don't work. I'll admit Hans Gruber's voice is really shit at first, and then it kind of gets a little better. But like, why is it shit in the first place? Why couldn't you just get good voice actors? Look, I've complained enough about the voice acting and the presentation, and the graphics aren't bad. But let's move on to the gameplay. Now, the gameplay in this game is very much centered around kind of a bit of run and gun, but a bit of not. Your stamina bar is pretty low, it's pretty short, so you can't really just run around everywhere. But at the same time, your health is also very low. I was only playing on medium, but if you were in the wrong position, you just died. There's not much room for screwing up. Now the other problem with the gameplay is that the main gun you'll use in the game is the MP5, and that's not so bad. I mean, you know, having one gun for most of the game, but at the same time you've got a choice of 4 primary weapons. But the problem is, one of those is the M16, and one of those is the Steyr AUG. Both of those share ammo, so you can't just use one and then use the other, and ammo is rare as shit. And the other one's the M60, which is why the fuck does John McClane have an M60 shoved up his ass, but that's beside the point. But the ammo drops for this are so rare that it's not worth using. So essentially you're stuck with the MP5. Now the MP5 is worldwide, at least in real life, regarded as probably, you know, the most accurate submachine gun ever, but in this it's got the recoil of a fucking horse trying to kick you in the back of the head, and it's about as accurate as if I was pissed drunk trying to throw darts fucking blindfolded. It's insane. Actually getting accurate shots is impossible. In a couple of the levels near the end of the game, they cut off all the main power like the FBI does in the movie. And then Hans is like, get to the backup. Now the problem is, since the power's cut, all the lights are out. And since all the lights are out, it's completely fucking dark. Now in the game, the only real light source you have, if there's no other lights, is your Zippo lighter, like he gets in the movie from the first guy he kills. But the problem is it sucks fucking shit. It really, really is not worth even using. Now, the problem with this is you can only have the Zippo out and another gun if the gun is the pistol. And that's okay, you know, it makes sense that he's not, you know, wielding an M60 with a Zippo shoved up his teeth or something. You know, it makes no sense. But at the same time, your combat capacity is like 0. The other problem is that the game was before the whole dynamic lighting thing. So you've kind of got this like static aura around you, which is light. And then the rest of the room's just dark. So you can't actually really see anything. Now the problem with this is you don't know where the fuck you're going! And to be fair, the darkness levels are actually the same as previous levels. But the problem is, you wouldn't know the first time you're playing this game that, well, I know that later this level's gonna be in complete fucking darkness, so I'd better learn every single nook and cranny of it. Of course you're not gonna fucking do that. Who the hell would do that? One of the things about this game is kind of like the boss fights. Now, I say that in the most, like, loose term possible, because when I say boss fights, I mean bullshit. Now there's one near the end of the game with Carl, you know, the guy with the AUG in the game, you know, at the end of the movie. But it really sucks. Look, I'll show you the fight. That really fucking sucked. Okay, that really sucked. Like, I went into that like, well, shit. This guy's gonna kick my ass. This is gonna take ages. And I do it in one go in like 3 rounds. And it's like, that was a really nice boss fight. I mean, in the movie, that fight's like hand to hand and lasts like 5 minutes. It's pretty epic. It's nice. It's cool. But here it's just like, I'm gonna pull this M60 I have conveniently out my ass and just da-da-da-da-da, and he's dead. It begs the question why they even put it there. One of the more interesting things to talk about is the swearing in the game. Now, most of it's pretty much kind of like the same as the movie, so nothing's really been changed, you know. McClane talks about, you know, kissing people's fucking Dalmatian and that kind of thing, but there's nothing really out of line. But in one of the scenes, when he's on the roof talking with the policewoman, for whatever reason, they censor it. Like, they change it around so he doesn't swear. Now, I was thinking at first, right, when I was actually going through it, I was kind of writing all these jokes in my head. The first scene he swears, and then in the second scene, this one, or the third scene, he doesn't. So I'm thinking to myself, oh, they must have been like, well, yeah, we sworn once, now we can't swear again. But you get later in the game and he just swears anyway. So why did they censor it? Who the fuck knows? Now then, for anyone who's seen this review and been like, well, I'm fucking crazy as shit, so I'm gonna play this piece of fuck. For the love of God, patch your game. Because otherwise this happens.
Ladies and gentlemen, I congratulate each and every one of you for making this one of the greatest years in the history of the Nakatomi.
So if this don't work out, man, you got a place to stay?
I'll find a place.
All right, I tell you what. I'm gonna pull in.
The first time I saw that, I was like, what the fuck's happened to my game? Like, what the fuck has happened to my... It begs belief. And the entire game would have been like that, I'd be willing to bet. But if you patch it, you're fine. And also, if you're in vents, just watch yourself. Because otherwise you're gonna end up out of fucking bounds. I mean, there's not that many glitches. But Jesus, it's like, why are there any glitches? I mean, this is a patched game now. So you'd think they would have been like, well, I found that, so we'd better fix that. But no, they just fuck it around. Another problem with making the movie a game is that obviously they shove in a lot more bad guys, which is good. But that's a good thing, guys. You should have done that. But the problem is, because they try to recreate, you know, every scene and every line from the damn movie, it breaks the plot down quite a lot. For example, at the beginning of the game, you actually do see the Pacific courier truck, you know, roll up and load out the bad guys. But you face at least 100 to 150 bad guys throughout the entire game. I mean, what the fuck are you telling me? It's some kind of clown truck? They held 150 guys in the one Pacific courier truck. You're joking. Then when you're up at the roof, you tell the policewoman over the radio that there's 6 or more bad guys. Well, yeah, there's definitely more than 6, considering you've already killed at least 20 up to that point. And then when you're talking with Powell after you drop a guy on his car, you tell him, oh yeah, they're down 1, they're down another skydiver, you know, the one you saw, and it's like, well, yeah, I've only killed, you know, at least 50 guys up to this point. They're clearly down 1. I mean, guys, you don't have to use every line from the movie. I admit that sometimes they're pretty faithfully recreated, but it just doesn't work. And remember, the voice acting's shit. I don't want to have to sit through this. Alright, look, in conclusion, it's not a bad game if you actually really like Die Hard. Because as I said, some of the scenes are reasonably faithfully recreated. But the problem is that the gameplay is just really shit. And I mean, with games like this, you can't really say much. Because they're so bad, and it's just hard to explain why they're bad. Because it's just the way they play, you know, it's the way they feel when you play them. So, I guess to sum up everything that I'm thinking, I can only say, Yippe Kaye, motherfucker. Welcome to the party, pal. Mr. Cowboy. Fuck you all. And let's all jump off a building with a fucking fire hose. Fuck this fucking game. I'm Pricklyman, representing the Video Game Confederacy. Have a good day.